Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Shabbos Parshas Va'eschanan, Shabbos Nachamu, and so a few ideas that learning this week, and we learned this week in the Sicha. So Nachamu means two times Nechama, two times consolation. Hashem is consoling the Jewish people. So we know that two times is the two Beis Hamikdash, the two Batei Mikdash, the two temples that were destroyed. So we have two times Nechama, but also it's not just two separate nechamas. There's a nechama, there's a consolation for one thing and another consolation for a second thing, but it's a consolation within a consolation, which means double deep, like we say mimamakim karsich Hashem, from our inner depth we call out to God. There's a depth within a depth. And we were learning this week that the idea of nechama, what's nechama? What's it mean to have a consolation? You're taking a negative and connecting it with the positive, and that's the nechama. The nechama is that you're leaving the negative and going into the positive, or able to find healing from the negative into something positive. So there's a connection. The nechama actually is connected to the negative and connected to the positive, taking the person over. But when you have a double nechama, it's not two separate connections to negative and positive, but it's one connection to negative that connects to positive, and then there's the connection that connects to the nechama that connects to further positive. So it's a healing of the healing, because we know healing itself is exhausting. Healing itself could be very, very tiresome and very require a lot of energy and a lot of effort. So you have the healing from the healing, which is a higher level of nechama. And I want to connect this with an idea that we learned this week about this week's parsha talks about Va'eschanan. We know is a language of tefillah, of davening. Like the Rebbe says, it's the tefillah of the Baal Tshuva, because it's the Baal Tshuva who's able to change him or herself immediately. And the idea of Va'eschanan, which is a language of prayer, is a prayer where you ask matnas chinam, a free gift from God, that God should help a person in that transition. That when you go through tshuva, we know that a person to go through tshuva has to totally leave his or her past to become a new person. Like the Rambam says, I'm not that person anymore, I'm a different person. So in that moment of nothingness, that moment where the moon totally sets, where it's total darkness, and to be reborn as a new person, that requires tools, that requires, how do you go through that transition? If you lose everything, how do you rebuild yourself? You've lost your ability to recreate yourself. So that's the free gift. That's where God comes in and says, I'm going to be there in that process. That process where you're totally going through the change from one identity to the next. God gives us that free gift. That's the gift of the Baal Tshuva. That's the gift that Moshe was praying for. That's the highest level of prayer, that it's even higher than the prayer of the tzaddikim. The tzaddik tries to get to that nothingness, to be able to be reborn as a new person. And that's very much connected to Shabbos Nachamu, where we're finding the healing from the destruction. Like the Rebbe says, the 15th of the month of Av is so great of a holiday because it comes after Tisha B'Av, and because specifically of the descent that we have in Tisha B'Av, we're able to grow up and to be stronger. And obviously that's the reason why we go through the experiences of Tisha B'Av. So I want to complete also, we learn in the Chassidus in this week's Parsha, the idea of Das and Emunah, of understanding, comprehension, and belief in Hashem, which is also the journey of a person. And like the Rebbe's final mimer, he gave to us that Moshe Rabbeinu gives us das, gives us understanding in order to elevate and to find meaning and internalize our emunah, our belief in Hashem. And we know that emunah, belief, and das and understanding are two partners. Das is certainty. You feel, you know that there's a God. Vidaita, you have to know there's a God, but you don't know it because you understand godliness, but you know that it exists. Like a person is clear that you have a soul that functions in your body, not that you understand the mahus, the essence of the soul, but you know it exists. You're certain of it. You don't need to believe that your soul exists. Belief, the uniqueness of belief is that because you have to believe, you don't have certainty. So in belief, you could believe beyond. You could believe to the highest levels because you're not limited by your understanding and your comprehension. So the idea is that Vedaita Hayom, we should know today, Vashavayis Levecha, take that knowledge and connect the knowledge with Emunah. And that elevates both the knowledge and our belief, that our belief becomes a belief of substance, and elevates our understanding and our comprehension to the levels of a belief that's beyond what, as far as you could see. Like a person sees something, you know it happened, you don't understand how it happened. So when you combine the belief and the understanding, and that's the completion really of the Baal Tshuva and the Tzaddik. You have the belief, you have the Tshuva, you have the parts that are beyond this world, which is the power of Tshuva. You have the parts that are within the system of this world, which is the idea of the Tzaddik. We combined it together. We combined the Nachamu, the two levels of Nachamu, the two levels of consolation, the completion. When we put things together, we put the husband and wife, we put Malchus and kingship and Midos. All these ideas, when we put the Chassid and Kala together, which is the idea of Tuba, which is time when men and women meet together, that's a completion, that's a level of elevation, and with that we should go with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meir of Mamash. Good Shabbos.